This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From the New York Times, Russia-Ukraine war summary. Ukrainian officials have restated their request that overseas Russian assets be seized and used to help rebuild Ukraine. The Ukrainian team has won this year's Eurovision musical performance competition. More than 260 Ukrainian soldiers who have held out in a steel plant in Mariupol for months have been evacuated from what's left of the plant and turned themselves over to Russian forces. Ukrainian leaders have said they hope they'll be able to conduct a prisoner exchange to get those soldiers back safely. And it's been estimated that about 20,000 civilians were killed in Mariupol due to the significant bombardment it has faced, and that as many as 100,000 surviving citizens, nearly 1/4 the total pre-invasion population, has been left with little food, water, heat, or medicine. Turkey's leadership is continuing to say they will not support Finland and Sweden's attempt to join NATO, and Hungary's government is saying they won't support an EU transition away from Russian oil. Though in both cases, these leaders, who can scuttle these efforts because unanimous support is required in both cases, have suggested that compensation of various sorts, pressure on Kurdish opposition groups, and a removal of weapons sale bans for Turkey, and about $18 billion in cash for Hungary might help grease the wheels of these processes. From BBC News, more than 1 million COVID cases feared in North Korea. Around 1.2 million people have reportedly come down with what official North Korean state media outlets are calling a fever, and about 50 people have died as a consequence so far. Kim Jong-un, the country's totalitarian leader, has ordered the military to distribute medicine, and a nationwide lockdown has been ordered. It's unclear what sorts of medical aid the government is able to offer its citizens, though, as the country has not accepted offered vaccines and other help from the international community, and doesn't have much to offer in this regard itself. It's also not clear how accurate these figures are, as the North Korean government doesn't really have the ability to conduct broad and accurate COVID testing, and the leadership under Kim Jong-un is generally incentivized to paint a rosier picture than might actually be the case on the ground in their reports. And from France 24, dozens killed in suspected jihadist attacks in Burkina Faso. Around 40 people were killed in a pair of attacks in Burkina Faso last weekend, and several dozen more were wounded in those and other recent attacks. These assaults on military and police fortifications are thought to be the work of local radical jihadist groups crossing into the country from Mali, as such groups have killed more than 2,000 people and caused almost 2 million to leave their homes since 2015. Most of those killed have been civilians who are part of a volunteer organization that helps provide various support services to the military, and it's thought that some of these more recent attacks might be intentionally and specifically targeting these civilian volunteers. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com, and you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.